I'm pointing to the center field gate and calling my shot right now. This former Washington National, who was a first-round pick, was a big-time prospect at one point, will be making his return to Washington, D.C. I'll tell you who that is.
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. I'm your host, Ryan Clary. You can catch me over on Twitter at RyanClary11 and as well as the show page at LO_Nationals. For all your latest Nationals news and notes, make sure to check them out over there and search Locked On Nationals wherever you get your pods and hit that subscriber button, including over on YouTube. Later on in today's show, kind of get into some free agency moves. Some of the guys we wanted here in Washington, D.C. are off the board at this time being. But again, it is free agency. It's hot stove season, and it is getting hot in here. I can confirm that to you guys. Also, I already know who the next Nationals first baseman will 100% be, this former All-Star. We're going to get into that a little bit later on in today's show. But first, let's start out with talking about this former big-time Nationals prospect, a first-round pick. In fact, I'm here to tell you right here and right now that Lucas Giolito, this is my prediction. I think Lucas Giolito would make all the sense in the world for this Nationals team and where we are right now. And also, I think Lucas Giolito wanting to sign with the Nationals would also probably make a lot of sense for him as we sit here today. As you know, we kind of get into this portion of the hot stove season, signing free agents. One thing's going to be clear to us. You know, we want to dream about signing Rhys Hoskins. We want to dream about signing Sonny Gray. But in reality, this probably is not going to happen. On the flip side of it, you could be getting someone of Lucas Giolito's caliber, who I think will make a lot of sense for this Nationals team. And right now, as we sit here today, Lucas Giolito, obviously there's familiarity within the Nats system with Giolito. Mike Rizzo is the one who drafted him. Mike Rizzo and his front office, they developed him to be a top 10, 15 prospect at one point in time, dating all the way back to 2014 and 2015 and years like that. Lucas Giolito is still a pretty premier talent, you could say, but it's always kind of been talent over results when it comes to Lucas Giolito. He's had a handful of really good seasons. He's had an all-star appearance. In 2020, that was really kind of when he broke out, and really only, 10, 12 starts over a 60-game pace there. But still, Lucas Giolito, this would be an intriguing signing because he's kind of that guy who, you know, the Nationals, they're not in this tier of signing all-stars to help them win right here and right now. That's not really what the business is right now. The Nationals, they don't need to win this second. You don't have this aging veteran roster and where your window's closing. The window is still opening for this Nationals team. But with Lucas Giolito at 29 years old, I could see the Nationals trying to go for that one-year Pello kind of contract. Now, if you look over at Spot Track, which I use religiously, 4 years and $47 million is what they dictate they think he will get this offseason. I'm not thinking that Lucas Giolito is going to be in this market, though. In fact, I strongly disagree. I could be 100% off base on this, but the reason as to why I say that, being only 29 years old and having those all-star appearances under his belt, having some dominant seasons under his belt as well, I think Giolito is willing to kind of bet on himself. Now, betting on himself, is he going to take a 1 year, what did it take, $13, $15 million contract with the Nationals? Sure. I think it could. He's going to be one of the premier starters in this rotation for this year, and also kind of gives him a path forward and hopefully trying to prove himself and get another big payday. Because Lucas Giolito, the talent has always been there. That's never been the question when talking about Giolito. The whole question surrounded him has been his consistency. And he's got to stay on track every 5 days, go out there, take the ball, and stay consistent with it. Because over the years, Giolito, again, Nationals fans, we've all kept track of him being a former National, being a first-round pick, and being a highly touted prospect. Everyone remembers the talk about Lucas Giolito back in the mid-2010s. Everyone thought he was going to come up, be a big part of this rotation, in which he made his MLB debut. He struggled with us here in that rookie season. And then you trade him away for Adam Eaton, as well as Ronaldo Lopez, and also, Dane Dunning as well. 3 solid pitchers in Major League Baseball right now. But the Nationals, this would make a lot of sense for a team that is not so desperate to win this second in time, and also a team that, frankly, has money to do this. Are you going to give him this 4-year, $45 million deal or whatever it would take that Spot Track is going with? I wouldn't do that. I'm not in the market to give Giolito a 4-year deal because he's never had 4 straight years of really consistent, solid pitching. It just hasn't been the best go for it, you could say, as far as Giolito goes. He's a very talented pitcher. He's got 4 pitches, 3 of them that he uses really damn well. But he's not going to be someone that you want to give 4 years because you trust him to be a back-end rotation starter. And he's good. The results are fine. But Giolito's ceiling is still higher than what he has been producing over the last few years. And I think the Nationals, being a savvy organization, they maybe could tap into that potential this offseason. And the reason why it makes sense for both parties is, number one, the familiarity is already there. He didn't work with Davey Martinez, but still, he knows Mike Rizzo. He probably trusts Mike Rizzo. And also being a Scott Boras client, we already know the connection there. That would be probably the most intriguing signing of this offseason for the Washington Nationals, unless they were to go out and get Rhys Hoskins at this moment. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But I think Giolito is the one that you could say, I think this makes a lot of sense for both sides here. This makes a ton of sense because, number one, Giolito did not finish well last year. If you look at his numbers, they were not good in 2023. He had some moments with the White Sox that was solid, hovering around a 3.8 ERA. But once he got to the Angels, then he got DFA'd, and then he went to the Guardians, in which none of those things were all too good. Giolito got rocked on many different occasions, and it was a hectic year being on 3 different teams in 2023. But still, Giolito, the rubber's going to have to hit the road eventually. And I think with knowing Scott Boras, with knowing Lucas Giolito still being 29, 30 years old, he's probably going to entertain the fact of just taking a 1-year deal. Now, there could be a team that is ultimately very desperate for the likes of a Giolito. Maybe the Atlanta Braves want to dabble in that market. Maybe the Phillies. You never really know who could be in on this. And if it's a contender, they may be willing to give him a little bit more money and a little bit more years up front than what the Nationals will be able to do. Because I think this would be a very smart signing for the Nationals if it was a 1-year deal. Maybe you get a club option in year number 2. That would be very nice, or a player option even. That would be fine. I'd be okay with it. But even then, taking the risk on Giolito, that's kind of one of those things where it's a smart risk for this Nationals team. Because again, he has had good seasons, and it's the perfect example of the kind of get-right contract that the Mike Rizzo and the Nationals could be in the market for, and really should be in the market for. Because we've done this before. We've seen the Nationals. This is what rebuilding teams do. You try to go for refurbished talent, and hopefully you make them brand new, shiny, and hopefully you can trade them at the deadline for a solid enough prospect. Or in this case with the Nationals, maybe you just have a good starting pitcher for the next year in 2024, in which we all know we need. Do you really want to go out there with Trevor Williams again every 5 days? Do you really want to trust someone like Patrick Corbin going out there every 5 days? At this moment in time, I'm just not up for that again. It's been forever. Trevor Williams just had his debut season with us. It was what we expected, not a starting pitcher. It's not someone you want to go out there every 5 days for because he's not really going to eat up all that many innings also. The Nationals, they need to improve. And I think Lucas Giolito would kind of help them get to that finish line, and hoping, just simply hoping, that we can kind of turn this thing around, come back to DC, make a little reunion, and develop him. And hopefully you get a nice little product in return. Then you have that perfect fork in the road where either you trade him at the deadline or this is going to be someone who's helping you win games down the stretch of the 2024 season. There's a lot of different paths that this could go with the Nationals, but as we sit here today, that's my full expectation of where the Nats could be going. This is the one that really kind of makes sense to me moving forward. It's just a matter of if the Nationals really want to pull off this signing, and if they do, then they should probably give him a little bit more money on that one-year deal, probably around that $13 to $15 million range for a one-year contract. But we'll just have to see, because again, it was interesting because Spot Track has him getting 4 years, 50 million-ish or so. That was intriguing in my opinion. I did not expect Lucas Giolito to be getting that kind of deal at this moment. I didn't even think that he would want to sign a deal like that, but we'll have to see which way Giolito and as well as the Nationals go from here on out. Thank you guys for making Locked On Nats your first listen. And next, I want to tell you about my prediction. It's not even a prediction because I am so confident in this that we already know the Nationals' next first baseman. I already know, at least. Not literally, but I figuratively know who the Nationals' next first baseman is. With everything it screams Washington Nationals. I'm going to tell you who that player is, and he is a former All-Star, but not who you may think we talked about on Friday's show with Joey Votto. I'm going to tell you about who that is after I tell you guys about our friends over at FanDuel. And score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. And if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. And we all know this Thanksgiving, you have the Cowboys against the Commanders. The Commanders just lost to freaking Tommy DeVito. There's no chance they pull out that win. I'm going to hammer the Cowboys on the money line, unsurprisingly there. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL. And now we get back into it to tell you who the Nationals' next first baseman will be. Let's just pull the covers right off this thing. It's going to be former Milwaukee Brewer, Rowdy Tellez. When he was DFA'd by the Milwaukee Brewers the other day, immediately I had my notifications blow up. I had text messages from friends saying, this is going to be the next Nationals first baseman, and I cannot agree more. Again, similar with the Giolito signing, the Nationals, this is the market that they are going to be in. They're not going, I'm not going to say they're not going to be chasing after a Rhys Hoskins. I'm sure they'll be in contact with him. If not, then what are we doing at this moment in time? You got to be in contact with someone of the likes of Rhys Hoskins, because we all know the impact that he has. But really just kind of when you wake up and you kind of smell the coffee and when you kind of evaluate the situation that the Nationals are in right now, the more realistic option is going to be a Rowdy Tellez kind of guy. The former Blue Jay, former Milwaukee Brewer. It just makes all the sense in the world. This year, he was DFA'd for a reason from Milwaukee, did not have a good year with them. His power was down. His slugging was down. And some of you may be like, I'm out already, because we all know that we need kind of that offensive prowl back over at first base, and hopefully, just hopefully, helping this team with their slugging numbers, getting back up to speed with that, because Rowdy Tellez in years past, slugging has never really been an issue with him. On base percentage, contact rate, things like that have been a little bit of an issue in the past, but Rowdy Tellez, he's going to be an intriguing candidate in my mind for this Nationals team. Now, are they going to really try to go after Rowdy Tellez? Is he going to be the #1 free agent on their market? I don't know at this moment in time. But again, kind of evaluating where the Nats stand here today, this is the one that makes the most sense at this moment in time. Having a 376 slug in 2023 down from his 461 back in 2022, Rowdy Tellez, while the numbers may not really just throw popping exclamation points at you, probably not. But I think the potential is there for this Nationals team to try to get some value out of him. It kind of reeks a little bit of a Dominic Smith signing last year after the Mets DFA'd him. The Nationals pick him up. But I don't think that's the case for this year. I think Rowdy Tellez truly has potential to bounce back this year. Now, do I want to see this happen over a possible Joey Votto signing, over a Rhys Hoskins signing? No, I don't want to see this happen over those. But kind of knowing the general thoughts of where the Nationals and this front office are camping right now, this is the one that makes the most sense. Because again, similar to the Giolito aspect of this, the Nationals, they're probably not really going to be fishing for guys who can help them 5 years down the line, help them win a World Series. That's not really what the market is right now. It's not really what the Nationals need at this moment in time. What the Nationals need is they need to continue to stockpile talent down in the farm system to help teams that are 5 years down the line, to get your DJ Hers and hopefully flip them at the deadline, or not flip DJ Hers at the deadline, but flip Rowdy Tellez at the deadline for another prospect similar to a DJ Hers, someone who can come out of the bullpen, someone who can maybe be a starter down the line for this team. There's a lot of different possibilities with this, but Rowdy Tellez, again, makes all the sense in the world. A lefty power bat, someone who hit 35 home runs back in 2022, someone who has hit a lot of home runs back in his day, but 2022 being his best, brightest year. Now, again, in 2023, he did take that step back that not a lot of people were truly expecting. A lot of people liked Rowdy Tellez. Again, all-star candidate, someone who could have been there, someone who is solid defensively, not all that great, but a big lefty power bat that's going to help your team kind of slug their way into the postseason, or hopefully slug their way into contention at the least. This is the move that would make the most sense out of all the first basemen now, because it's kind of that bounce back candidate. And, you know, the Nationals, they need some bounce back players, and this is going to be the market where they'll be fielding from. You're not going to be out there trying to expect to sign your Rhys Hoskins. If you're expecting Rhys Hoskins, I hate to say it, but you're probably going to be let down just kind of knowing where this Nationals team is at this moment in time. You can't go into this offseason expecting that huge, major splash. Now, again, is this what we want? Probably not with Rowdy Tellez. Let's be honest here. We want the Rhys Hoskins. You want the Joey Votto even. Or maybe trade for a first baseman. Whatever it is, Rowdy Tellez is probably not what you're sitting here dreaming about in your offseason. Just knowing where the Nationals are at this moment in time, you have to think that this is the move that would make the most sense for them. Because again, the numbers have fallen off. The exit velocity has fallen off when it comes to Rowdy Tellez. All the different numbers that you would look at and really kind of ooze and cry about and do whatever you want about, all of them aren't all that great from Rowdy Tellez from this last year. But I'm calling it right now. The Nationals, they're going to sign Rowdy Tellez to a one-year deal. Nationals fans, some of them may be happy. Some of them may not be. But Rowdy Tellez and Rowdy season is the way that I would go by it. Might be a little bit of an intriguing option there for this Nationals run. Thank you all for making Locked On Nats your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And next, kind of go around Major League Baseball with some free agents looming here, looming pretty large. What will be happening in free agency? What has been happening? What is the latest on the Nationals front? We're going to get to you that after this. And we're back with Locked On Nationals, and thank you guys for making us your first listen every single day. And if you haven't already, make sure to check us out over on YouTube. Subscribe, Locked On Nationals, for a video portion of this. I have a new little studio set up here. You see the World Series banner here. You see the Nationals World Series hat. You see another Nationals hat, which I hate, by the way. You also see a 2019 little beer stein and a nice little 1967 Senators signed baseball and a Josiah Gray bobblehead. A lot of cool things here. More will be added on the way, but let me know what you think about the new home studio setup. I like it, but I know it could probably get a little better. We're still working on this process here. But speaking of a process, the Nationals, they are in a process right now. It is always trust the process here on Locked On Nationals. Mike Rizzo has done these sort of rebuilds before, but as we sit here today, The Nationals, they've been quiet in free agency and just started a few days ago, but still, the Atlanta Braves, the Philadelphia Phillies, teams like that around the NL East, they are getting busy. Ronaldo Lopez, another former Nationals top prospect who made his debut the same year as Lucas Giolito with the Nationals. He signed with the Atlanta Braves on a multi-year deal, which, by the way, was a very surprising contract. And at this moment in time, we all know Ronaldo Lopez, he was hyped and touted to be a starting pitcher coming through the national system. They traded him away to the White Sox. And again, with that Giolito trade for Adam Eaton way back in the day in 2016, 2017. And moves like that, Ronaldo Lopez, he wasn't the stature of Lucas Giolito at that moment in time, but he still had a ton of potential with a lot of different pitch movements, all the different things that you kind of want to see from a starting pitcher. But Ronaldo Lopez ultimately never really worked out for the Chicago White Sox. He was good as a starter, solid at times even, but ultimately he was a bullpen guy. And when he got to the bullpen, very good, very legit, good stuff, good talent, kind of someone that you want to be the rock of your bullpen coming out at the back end of that pen. But now the Atlanta Braves, they have signed him to this multi-year deal, in which is a little surprising, not all crazy surprising considering he's got good pitch movement. He could be a good bullpen guy, but at this moment in time, they're expecting him to be this, starter all of a sudden again. They expect him to be maybe a fifth starter for them, maybe someone who kind of plays in that Trevor Williams role back with the New York Mets, where he comes out of the bullpen at times, but also makes a spot start and kind of leads the way for a bullpen game. I don't really know what to expect with that. But here's one thing that I'm afraid of. The Atlanta Braves might get this right, because Ronaldo Lopez, similar to Giolito, there's been a lot more hype than results throughout his career. A lot more hype. Good stuff, good slider, all the different things that you want from a major league pitcher, Ronaldo Lopez has. But again, it's just been kind of this weird thing where he's just never been able to click, hasn't been able to throw enough strikes consistently. And ultimately, that has kind of led to his, not downfall, you could say, but led to his kind of knockdown to the bullpen. But the Atlanta Braves, they're going to be giving him a shot. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see what they can do. Thank you all for making Locked On Nats your first listen every single day, as it was a nice little short show today as we are getting ready for Thanksgiving. And of course, on tomorrow's show, we're going to continue to preview a lot with MLB free agency. There's a lot to be happening here soon. Hopefully the Nationals starts to get involved, and I think they will, by the way. It'll just be ultimately up to what they want and really want what the free agents want. Do they see the vision that the Nationals see, or do they not? We're going to discuss that on tomorrow's show. But before we do that, I'll catch you on the flip side.